All right. Well, I'm gonna move on.
Yep.
That was an interesting topic. Let's go to Rocco. Let's go down the line.
Okay, so my topic is inspired because I happened to watch the entire show, The Brink, the whole season 1 yesterday. With my brother. Yeah, dude, that show is awesome. So the show takes place in like Pakistan, and it has to do with like the brink of war. And it got me thinking into World War III. And do we think we'll be alive with an event like World War III ever get started? Do we think there will be one? Who do we think it would be against? What kind of warfare do you think we will use? Because obviously there's like the biological warfare, the nuclear warfare. And do you think that anybody would exist after World War III? I mean, so I know I threw a lot of things on the table, and I just want to hear some of this, your guys' opinions, but also that I want to inform you guys that there's been 15 different events that have happened since World War II that have almost caused World War III, and I kind of like to tell you guys some of those too later on. But
World War III against who?
That's what I'm saying. Who do you think it would be
What's your
against?
thought? Like, if you think it is, then what do you think?
There would be a world? Korea? Okay, so actually, talking about Korea, can you guys hear me?
Is it
Yes.
Something gave out. Talking about Korea, number 14 is actually talking about Korea, where North Korea in November of 2010, something recently, had attacked South Korea and their troops. They had sent off 160 missiles against them, which almost caused World War III. But it didn't. They pretty much avoided World War III. But that was an event that had taken place in 2010, where North Korea was getting crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
So
what about the most recent event though with Korea? They were supposed to be like having a war like at a certain time of day.
They put mines on the borders, and South Koreans were walking on there, and they got some of them got killed. And in retaliation, the South Koreans put giant speakers and basically did anti-propaganda, or I don't know what you call it, but they were basically yelling to North Korea that their president's not a god and all this other stuff, that the country's false, yada yada, and then
North Korea told them to take them down like in 10 days or something like that, or
or else I'll meet me at noon. It was
so as stupid as this stuff might be,
bad,
as stupid as some of this stuff might be, these are actually things and events that unfortunately we live in a world where it's that fragile that it can convert right into World War III. Like, that's kind of scary. I put big speakers up on a wall and start producing some anti-propaganda, and we might have a trigger-happy, countries going on, and then World War III initiates.
Now you're saying World War III, like, so we're gonna have to get involved then, if they start fighting.
Well, being that South Korea is one of our allies, I would think that's something like would happen.
Okay.
I would think.
I don't follow any of that.
Yeah.
So, I'll take a stab at this, and I'm just like, my belief is that it's not going to happen. We won't have a World War III, and it won't be with Korea. I just don't think. I think we live in a day and age that there's too much. Like, there's just a lot less room for tyranny, and there's a lot less room for even a rebellious society, like a rebellious group like ISIS, to even have a backing like World War III. And if I'm even to pick the closest country that could even pose a threat, it would be China. But when you look at everything else, like if it's in classic World War, in the previous World Wars, it was multiple countries against multiple countries. I can only see China, and they're sandwiched between Russia, Japan. They're sandwiched between the Middle East. They're sandwiched between all of Europe, and then you have America. And regardless of how big that army is, they can't take the entire world on. Germany tried with Japan, with Italy.
But isn't China
with
and Russia, aren't they allies?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Not necessarily.
I thought that
there's much allies to from my understanding. There's much allies to themselves as they are to the United States.
Gotcha.
And we saw how Russia was prior to World War II.
Yeah.
And as soon as a threat posed to Russia, which China would, they flipped and they went against Hitler and all that stuff. So like, yeah, they might not be our best friends, but they're certainly not going to let China walk all over them, and we're not going to let that happen. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or whatever.
So we have a lot of unstable leaders in other countries that now have nuclear powers, though. So that's the thing that I worry about. Issues that I worry about is that if one leader, one dictator, one tyrannical leader, because we say we don't have those, but we do have those still existent. We
do. But what I was saying is we don't. Yeah. Well, what I was saying is we don't have someone like we've matured as like a world where I don't see someone like Hitler coming to power again, and I don't see someone like Stalin and all this other stuff that like we have a UN, like we have a collective society, like we have Twitter, we have Facebook. This stuff about like crazy like because World War II started because of like an assassination with the king, yada yada. Like there was a lot of this like news that I don't think was really like kind of brought to the forefront. It was just like, well, they're attacking us, so we should attack them. It was really that simple. And then you see post World War II that war is a lot harder to do and like take off. You know what I mean? Like the Vietnam War was like highly like protested. All the wars like afterwards were like it was really hard.
Well, look
to
at the
get
9/11 event. We got attacked, and immediately everybody was like, "Let's go to war. Let's tear everybody up in the Middle East."
There was also a lot of people that said we shouldn't go to war.
Yeah.
So like, which is also my point. I think it's just a lot harder to engage in war. It's a lot harder to it's a lot harder to engage in war in this day and age. And so even with something as like traumatic and devastating as 9/11, I don't see it happening. I think we've reached.
So I agree with you. It is a lot harder to get ourselves into war today than it was back in World War II. But I don't think that it's still not impossible, though. That's the thing. As I still think that there is the possibility that can happen.
So play devil's advocate with me.
I think it is absolutely. We have 15 events where people had their fingers on nuclear bombs, ready to pull the triggers, but they didn't. So obviously, it's showing. It's more difficult to get ourselves started and initiated in a World War III.
You know,
but
talking
it's
about
still possible. I think
talking about how like
Steve might not be able to do this one.
Yeah, Rocco's like, turn him off.
Turn him off. Get him out.
So I was thinking like because it is harder to wage war in this day and age. I feel like maybe the classical sense of what World War I and II are like is not what's really going to apply for us now. Like I kind of feel like if something were to happen, it would be like a technological strike rather than like a conventional warfare strike. Like maybe completely blanketing out like somebody's access to the internet or something like that would be like way more devastating than dropping like a nuclear bomb on a major city at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
Because like taking out that infrastructure, like everything relies on it. So if they were somehow able to keep people from getting information, I think that would be like way more dangerous than bombing a city or like putting troops on the ground.
And I actually agree with that one too, Alan, because I think that our like the leading like ways of attacking another country right now are cyber. You know, that's the way to really make let's not destroy the world because we have those capabilities, but we can still like have a war almost in a way where it's
destroy the country.
Yeah, like destroy the country in a subtle way instead of like bombing it. You know, where
I mean, look at like banking and everything is done through pretty much internet access now, and everything. You know, that's a great way, I guess, to do that, but I think Iceland is going to take over the world.
Iceland?
Ian, you brought up a really good point. Like, as soon as I heard banking, that reminded me of another point why I don't think World War III is going to happen. Because everybody, like, for a while there, like, people were like, "Oh, China's just going to invade us and they're going to take over." And blah, blah.
I know.
It's a world economy.
Yeah.
Like they need us as much as we need them. Like, I just don't see it happening anymore. Like the economy, the infrastructure is so tied to each other that like it just doesn't make sense.
Right. But I don't think it was going to be something like China bombs the U.S. and you're like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? But it could be China bombs India, and we're like, we're not really cool with that, or the UN says we're not really cool with that because there's
China bomb.
I'm just saying it could be anything. So like in right now, like Israel, for example, has broken multiple international laws in that the UN has established, but still they don't care. They still keep breaking them. Like that could be retaliation from China saying, enough is enough. We're not. You guys aren't listening to the UN. Why do we fucking care anymore too? You know,
right.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like these are the things. Like we have things established to try to avoid World War IIIs, and we're more civilized. I'd say maybe we are more civilized than we were in the past. At least when it comes to war.
You're right, because it usually is a small thing that just stacks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, number 15 here is 1979 NORAD computer glitch. There was a computer glitch, guys, that almost caused us to go into World War in 1979
Yeah, I've
because
seen that
of a
movie.
technical difficulty. I mean, some guy accidentally set up a training program that simulated a Soviet attack. And we were sitting here thinking we were about to be attacked on November the 9th, 1979.
Are you
So-
describing the summer
NORAD.
blockbuster
Oh,
with Matthew Broderick
yeah,
called
this-
War Games?
And I'm sure it was
War
based
games,
off
yep.
of an actual event. You know? So like these things are like that's serious. So that's a computer glitch, just a haywire thing going on. And another one had happened the same thing with like a research group had sent off a rocket and Russia's like, what the hell is that? We don't know what the hell that is, and getting ready for nuclear war. I mean, these are little things that, you know, it's not a country versus another country kind of deal. This is a research group sending off a rocket into the sky, or a technician hits a computer glitch and simulates a Soviet war attack. And now all of a sudden everybody's ready to go to war because we can't have 150 missiles getting sent to us and not be prepared to retaliate in some way or another immediately, you know, without kind of trying to think it through almost. You know, they're like,
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel like, again, with the information highway that it is today about grabbing knowledge so quickly the moment it's out there, I just think, you know, within seconds we're going to know, nope, that's not, it was, we looked at all these articles, it's confirmed, press, blah, 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 like Twitter, people are just going to have their own, like, we don't have to worry about major media, it's just going to be like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
bland.
That's the best part is like you don't have to rely on major media to get your information because it's like they can spin it however they want. But a lot of
Right.
times somebody that's just like
Exactly.
right there is just like, I just took it with my phone. There's like, you know, I have it right there.
that's
It's
the
not a
great
nuke,
thing about
it's
Twitter.
a satellite. We were all there. There was a
Yeah,
thousand of us watched
I mean,
it.
it's good and bad because sometimes like you see these heinous things, like the guy that executed the TV reporters, like
Right.
with his phone, like
Fucking
live,
God,
you
yeah.
know. Like
Yeah.
there's like the catch-22 is like you see things, but then you see things that you've never seen for the first time, and like you kind of don't want to. Like
well,
the news
like-
almost censors that stuff from you, like good or bad. Like some people would be like, oh, I want to see all that kind of stuff no matter what. But
Right.
you know, sometimes
So-
it's like it's very traumatic to see it for the first time.
That video is bone chilling.
And that's what
shit.
leads us to being more. It leads it to being more, you know, a lot harder for war to kind of get initiated because, you know, you can't really governments, medias, whatever it is, can't really like create some propaganda that's going to be bullshit, you know,
Right.
because we can look on Twitter nowadays and we see the Twitter feed coming from this country and they're all saying
Right.
nothing like that is happening at all. You're like, so
Exactly.
wait, what? Like, I
Well,
don't know. Although there is other countries that will shut down their freaking internet when things like
That's what
that
I
are
was just
happening and
about to say.
occurring.
Like
and
China,
that-
Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
China and Korea, but beyond those two, I don't think anybody has that I know
Okay,
of.
so the Brink, the show,
There's
and this
some
is just a show,
like,
and I don't,
some
I'm
European-
not going to
Western European countries, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna
Or
give any
Eastern
credibility
European.
to this show
Like
as like,
Russia
oh,
and
that's
shit.
the truth or not. But in the Brink, it was like Pakistan's government did the same thing to the Pakistani people. So I don't know if that's got any truth behind it or not, if they're capable of doing that. But I don't doubt that all governments at some level or another are capable of shutting off the internet for their country. Do they do that? I don't know.
You're there, Steve.
You know,
Huh?
You're there.
Yeah, we see.
No, I know I'm here.
So-
I'm just wondering why it's doing this.
It's so interesting too because like the day and age we live in where technology is secondhand. Like
Yeah.
there's like regardless of the China blocking, like United States, like I know that there's ways to hook up to VPN and connect from a different
Yeah,
country from a
I bet
different
they do
IP.
that
So
over there.
right, exactly. So China, like,
Except, but it is like still the government is different there, so like people could just be detained for doing that, like
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
secret police type thing. You know, like they just come in and take you, and like nobody can really do anything about it.
that's true.
Yeah.
You know,
They
Yeah,
actually
so that
should
is a
have
little
it
different.
Yeah, that's,
So-
that's a good point.
under
Yeah.
the Patriot Act.
Well, now think about this, guys. Okay, so in America we have 311 million people. In China, they got 1.3 billion. So
It's not gonna be a ground.
Yeah, I was just gonna
ground
say
warfare that's
the
happening
amount
right
of
now.
people actually doesn't have the same weight as it did
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
right. But I'm just saying, like, if that was to happen,
If it was a ground war, they probably, of course, would win in by number.
But
But I don't think
they-
it will be a ground. There won't be a ground war. I don't-
But and if it was a ground war, don't you think it would be pretty much the entire world against China? I'm pretty sure it would. Like,
depending on the scenario, of what happened, the context. Like, is it like the United States bombed China and everybody's against the United States? And they're
Well,
like, "Hey, fuck you."
yeah, then we're
guys."
fucked. Yeah.
You know,
Then we
so-
kind of
Sure.
deserve it.
Here's the other thing.
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Biological warfare that's completely existent with like very subtle. I'm not bombing anybody, but now we've got, this chemical release in this country that's like in their water, and they're being taken out slowly over time. There's the possibilities of biological warfare, which in fact they say is more dangerous than nuclear warfare because of how many people it can kill with such a small amount.
Yeah.
And not just that, guys, is that terrorism is really big, around the world. And with terrorism, there is a black market for like transferring of nuclear weapons. That's a dangerous thing too. Who's to say it's not a country that starts and initiates things, but they propagate that a country does,
Sure.
Or
I feel like anybody that if anybody used a nuclear weapon, everyone in the world would like
Jump on them.
Stop them. Because they've only been
exactly.
used once, and like
And we
everyone
see
saw what happens, and like nobody wants to see that ever again. I don't think,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
Like only like total loons, which are the people that we'd have to worry about like detonating a nuclear weapon. But I just want to ask a question real fast. I know we've talked about AI on here before. What if that is what the next world war would be?
Ooh.
An AI, not like a
Terminator.
Like more Terminator style. Like I feel like
So
that would be more like
That I could see.
It could be, yeah, exactly.
like
That
that's
could
what
be,
executes some sort of like military plan and like catches everybody by surprise.
that's that
that'd be so
NORAD, but on
scary.
purpose.
Then what do you
know what I
fight?
mean?
Like you don't even know what to fight at that point, because we don't
Yeah.
actually have like Terminator exoskeletons like walking around. Like what it would
Yeah.
just be like a
Just punch a
sentient
computer.
thing inside the computer. Yeah.
What if it's like a Terminator meets like the movie Her, where like it's just like the computer sentient, and so like this attack is completely like cyber, and it's like light, like traffic is just fucked up, like bank
Yeah.
accounts are fucked up, our economy's going in the tank, like this thing is just trying to destroy human civilization as we know it, and so like
can't play
planes
League
are
of Legends
falling out of the
anymore.
sky. Yeah,
There
you
could
can't
be-
play games.
I mean, honestly, that could be a reality too. I mean, say 150 years down the road, AI is like crazy insane. That like World War III could be just AI. Initiating
Yeah.
and starting it,
Would
or
suck,
it's humanity versus AI.
Well, you know who gets blamed? It's the coders. They didn't code the robot rules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
so what,
exactly.
What if there was
My bad.
Steve.
whoops, like an attack where they dropped a bunch of jalapeno poppers and just got everyone
Oh.
sick?
Dude, that would suck. That's biological
Hey,
warfare.
so like the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? There was a situation when that was all going down that there was a base. It was during the same period of the missile crisis. Alarms went up in Duluth, American base, indicating that an intruder and possibly Soviet bombers were overhead. This was all pretty much a warning going off, alarms going off because of a bear that is putting us on the brink of like attacks. These are things that are like legit events.
Did you say
a bear?
bear?
Right. A bear snuck into the base, and alarms started getting sent off. At the same time, the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on, so everybody's on high alert. Adrenaline rush is going insane, just like the cops
the
in the situations that are going on.
Okay,
like
okay,
people
but-
are all, when in those situations, you're not really thinking straight. You're just like, ooh, we don't want to be the first one attacked. We want to make sure that we punch first, so we
But
can knock
isn't
them
this
out.
isn't this during the Cold War? Isn't the Cuban Missile Crisis like years ago in the 80s?
Yeah.
The Cuban Missile Crisis was another situation that occurred. Yeah.
Okay, but so I guess my point I'm trying to
Yes,
make is
I
that
get
what you're describing is that this is a time of very like
It was in the
hypertension.
60s too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the hypertension we have again is with terrorist groups and with North Korea, and like yeah, that will bring a scare, but it won't bring a scare of another country attacking. So we need to attack another country. Like at this point, our mentality and like the kind of trend that we see is that if we get attacked, we're immediately like, okay, who is infiltrating our country and what terrorist organization are they tied to? Like, which is to me won't cause World War III. It will just cause heightened security and a way to try to figure out how we can take this like terrorist group out. Like, I don't think our mentality right now is like, fuck, it's Cuba again, or oh god, it's those damn Soviets who are trying to beat us to the moon. Like, we're past that. Yeah, and I don't.
I mean,
don't
talking
see
about that, we're actually just in the U.S. Embassy. We just recently rose our American flag. We built that relationship back up. So I think we're
Cuba?
opening that. Yeah, in Cuba.
Yeah, that's
so,
good.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's a new day
You
and
know?
age. That was like 1962. So
Yeah.
a lot of these situations that occurred, they're more not so recent, but the 2010 event with North Korea and South Korea, that was a recent event, and it was something that happened. A lot of innocent people lost their lives in that situation. Now that goes to you, Clay, and your point that we didn't turn it into World War III, even though a lot of people lost their lives when that event happened.
I think because North Korea is just not a real threat. Like, nobody's really afraid of them. We know that they're poor as shit, and we know that they're just all talk, and they're delusional.
No,
You
I
know what
don't
I
know
mean?
if they have any type of like nuclear weaponry. I don't know. I can't
They
say.
tried to send a rocket off, right? And it
Yeah.
got 10 miles off the coast and fell apart.
It fell,
and
yeah.
fell into the ocean.
Gotcha.
Like, they have a long way to go.
I gotcha.
So,
They have a few thousand years.
yeah.
But trial and error, man. If
But
we
they
let
can-
them keep doing trial and error, I mean, eventually that rocket will go.
Or
miles.
black market, somebody gets their hands on some type of nuclear device out of like some type of warfare. Shoot down a plane, get a missile. North Korea has it, and they're like, I didn't create
Sure.
it, but now I got a nuke.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, what if that were to just send that one over to South Korea or whoever they felt like that was necessary? I don't know. That could possibly initiate something. If we were to look at something like it took out, a major city in South Korea and hundreds of thousands of people's lives were lost, I don't doubt that the UN might be like, we're starting World War III, and it's everybody's against North Korea, and it's not really like a
Well,
World War III. Is it just a gigantic
Dude,
war against that country?
The UN was against Bush when he wanted to go into the Middle East after
Right.
9/11.
But we still did.
Because Bush said, "Fuck you, UN, I'm going in." So when you say like I bet the UN want to go in, like I question that.
I got you.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
I guess
I'm
I'd say
curious what
more
would
like
take.
the countries as a whole. So maybe it would be Obama or whoever the president is at the time saying, "Fuck you, UN." I know you're saying no, but we are all saying yes.
That could maybe start war. Like I don't know. Maybe that would right if a couple countries are like, "No, we're going in," and the rest of the countries are like, "No, you're not," and then
Yeah. Then there you
before know it,
go.
they're
Yeah.
arguing. Perhaps.
But you got two countries that are like, no, that was fucked up. We're allies with
Yeah.
them. We're allies with them, and that was not cool. We're gonna go in, and the rest are like, no, you're not. You do it. We're gonna start a
Yeah.
war, and then boom, it happens. Because
Right.
as the whatever it be, the
Why can't we all just love each other? Why not?
because there's our mentalities are so divided.
I know,
You have
I
that
know.
mask on.
Yeah.
No,
Awesome.
honestly, yeah. Huh?
Is there? You said you had a couple other stuff that you wanted to. read
That's
off,
about
or-
it, really. I mean, like
Okay,
I was going
cool.
to say, there was a lot of other different events. There was 15 major events that had occurred. They all have occurred kind of more in our past and at times where information wasn't so readily available and it wasn't so fast. That I think that there is a difference between how fast a World War III can get started today than there was back in the 50s, 60s, and kind of before, I'd say, like the 80s.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think there's a possibility still. I hope that there never would be. I would like to see us move in a direction of peace. Although I think there's too much division still to this day. From one country to the other country, that there could be easily war still involved because there's such
still a
tensions.
ton of
There's just such tension involved.
lots of racism, lots of
Racism, religious
problems,
differences to anything and everything. Man, it's gigantic.
Yeah,
And
It's crazy.
history, yeah.
Right.
People
right.
not liking people because they're past and everything, so they're beef. But
Right.
yeah, that's a great topic, Rocco. I definitely like that.
Yeah.